Welcome, Rien and Sera, to the podcast. It is so great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to be here. Thanks, Jeff.
As we get started, I'd like you both to introduce yourselves. So in case our listeners don't know who you are, and Rien, we'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Ryan Gray. I write primarily FF and F non-binary romance, although I've kind of like dipped my toes into queer and trans horror lately. I've been in a few anthologies, so I'm really enjoying that. I have my ongoing series, the Fatal Fidelity series, is about a non-binary assassin and the woman they save from her abusive husband. And so I'm working on the fourth book on that now, which will finish the series. And then I have like a werewolf romance as well. That's FF with Karina Harlequin that I've done as well. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth in between those. And then, of course, double exposure, but we'll get to that later. So go ahead, Sarah.
So for me, my debut romance came out with Harlequin Special Edition last year. It's Delicious Dilemma, which is actually one of a series of books in the Navarro family series. So far, I mostly write Latinx leads. My online Harlequin free read is an FF romance, which is really exciting in the same universe. My first book is a male-female romance. My second book, which is coming out in March, is a male-male romance. And my third book features a bisexual lead with her love interest. So I try to write as inclusively and wide as possible.
Yeah, I was about to say, you got like the whole spectrum there.
It's going to reflect a little bit my upbringing. So, I mean, I come from a massive family and everyone was there. Everyone was a part of it. So it doesn't, and I grew up in New York City, close to New York City in the Hoboken area. For me, that feels like the type of community I feel at home in. So.
Both of you are relatively new to writing romance, coming in the last year, 2 years. What drew you into writing romance?
Well, even though my debut is only a year old, I've been writing for years and years. I come from a fan fiction background. And so, as you know, like fan fiction, I have a lot of fandoms that I was a part of. But fundamentally, the writing was all romance oriented. And so I feel like I played a lot with romance and wrote a lot of romance and read a lot of romance before I actually tried my hand at writing something that someone should pay for to read. Because up until that point, people got it for free. So I'm a long time romance reader. I got the bad habit from my mother, who left her Harlequins around for me too, unfortunately.
It's not a bad habit at all.
No, it's not. I mean, completely ironic. It was great. We traded books with each other, and I mean, it really made an impact on my reading. So I've always read romance.
And Rayan, for you?
So I'm actually not new to writing romance in general, because I wrote romance for romance games on your phone for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Before I started writing books. Cool. So it's just that my medium was completely different for a long time. So all the like interactive stories and stuff you can play on your phone. I was working on a lot of stories that at the time, because this was years ago, were like some of the first like non-binary love interests in those apps, and a lot of just queer romance in general that wasn't on these phone games. So that's actually where I got started before I kind of like looped back around to being like, wow, I've been doing this for a while. I wanted to be a novelist when I was a kid growing up, but it just kind of looped around into, oh, well, this isn't a practical thing, this and that, do this. So then I ended up in the games industry writing romance, and I was like, well, I'm stable enough now. I can like start writing some books in my spare time. And I wrote Love Kills Twice was my debut. And yeah, it was like a year and 8 months ago, something like that. And despite it just being honestly very indulgent for me personally, I managed to find a publisher with 9-star. And then I was like, wait, I can do this. And I've been just going with it ever since. But yeah, I started in games actually. So.
Are there games that we should go look at to check out some of your previous work? Are there places
I wish the servers don't exist anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, that is unfortunately one of the things that's common with a lot of these mobile games, is once they run out of business, like you can't anymore. But yeah, I did that for 6 years.
That's amazing. Just really quickly, because this is a total divergent from our topic. What's it like going from like writing for games where you've got all the interactive components to it to writing a more linear novel format?
It's so much easier. Like writing a book is never easy. Like I would never say that, but in comparison, having to account for people making choices in the middle of your story and giving them a range of options is far more complicated. I loved that I could just write the romance I wanted to write and nobody else got to have an opinion on it.
I love that. Yeah, you can go here, 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 or here.
It's like, oh, did they buy this option? Did they not? Is like, have they played this before? What will it look like? What if they change their mind on this one? Whew. It's
Hmm.
yeah, it's just far more complicated than just like being able to like plot out a linear story because I'm a plotter kind of writer and just being able to write it straight through. Oh, it's bliss.
Now, we talked with Avery in the segment before this one, and I'm curious what brought each of you to wanting to take part in the Happily Ever After Collective, since it's such a different way than we're used to seeing to publish books.
So I actually was given a heads up by my mentor Karen, who is a friend of Avery's, and Karen messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you think you could write a novella by I forget what date she told me, but it was somewhere far enough out." I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And she's like, "Well, my friend Avery is looking for somebody to join the HEA collective that she wanted LGBTQ romance that she was really hoping to get own voices authors for it specifically." And that jumped out at me because I was like, oh, cool, like looking for that. And also like it's trope based. There are a lot of tropes I really love. So the idea of getting to be like, cool, like this is a group that wants me to do own voices romance. This is, and I get to pick something fun. We're all going to be in this together. Like, yeah, it was a pretty easy sell to me, I'll be honest.
And Sarah?
It's the same, like Ryan said, it took me a little bit back to the time when I used to participate in like writing challenges. And so you're given a trope and you're given a deadline and everything is up to you. Avery had written to me on the recommendation of R.L. Merrill. She's my co-writer on a project that we've been working on over the last year. And she said, you can do this. So she's looking for, Latinx writers and writers who are willing to write queer stories as well, just to diversify as much as possible the offerings. And I was like, absolutely. So I was given a trope. And I went for it. I had the time to do it. So it was, and I love writing in that way because I'm also a plotter. And there's something incredibly liberating about being given something and just going with whatever comes to your mind. Like it's something, it's completely different from my normal writing routine. So it was very exciting to be involved in that.
What are your favorite tropes? Because these books, certainly from what I read with Double Exposure, is very trope-tastic. Just so many things just jammed on in there. What are the favorite tropes for you to work with?
I was given the trope that I was given was fake relationships. You choose like your top three, and then you get assigned as close to your preferences as possible. So I was given I had chosen fake relationships because I hadn't done that one yet, and I really wanted to give it a try. I had already done a kind of enemies to lovers in my debut. I had done also a kind of opposites attract. And I did, and my third book features, like a second chance romance. So I reached for something different. So, and that was one of the appeals also. It was just like, I'm gonna just throw myself in there and see what I get and then just write it. It was really liberating. My favorite is definitely enemies to lovers. I love, yes, I love enemies to lovers. I also really enjoy, best friends to lovers. I like rivals to best friends to lovers. I like that just tension. I grew up on soap operas and I love it. I love the campier the better. So those are my favorite types of tropes.
So it's actually funny. I also picked the ones I picked because I hadn't. Mine is both second chance romance and enemies to lovers, even though I ended up in the second chance romance month. Right. But like I hadn't done either of them before, despite the fact that I liked them both a lot. And so it was a perfect opportunity to be like, well, I really like this. I should try my hand at it and see how it goes. Yeah. My favorite, however, is bodyguard romance. Like any variant. It can be fantasy like knight and queen. It can be modern. Like it can be about every time. That's my big one.
I'm shaking my fingers and I'm really excited because my next project is a bodyguard romance. And I've never written one. I love them. When it comes to a trope, it wasn't the first thing that jumped to mind because I've never written it before. But I recently consumed a bodyguard series and it just set me off. Like I have to write this.
Yeah, I have a book in progress too. Karina actually asked for the full, so I need to finish it. But like I also have one in progress, but it's like I also need to write this. This is literally my favorite. Which is actually, I think that's why I didn't write it first and got a few books out because it's like my favorite. So I feel invested. It's like, well, this shouldn't be my first try. Like, let's get my feet a little wet with a book first before I go after the thing I really like.
Right. That's reasonable.
I'm looking forward to all of your bodyguard romances because bodyguard connects to romantic suspense 99% of the time. Yes. And I love a romantic suspense. So yes, bring those books on. Let's talk about the books that you have in the collective. And Sera, we'll start with you because your book is one of the October selections.
Right. So my book is actually called A Fashionable Deception. And I'm like super thrilled that Rien mentioned Bodyguard Romance, because I had just gotten off of a binge of I had never watched like Thai series before. I was always like love K dramas and I love Japanese series, but this was my first Thai series, and it's Kim Porsche, and it was
Oh,
it's
yes.
oh, it was so
My
good.
God, it was so good.
And so I couldn't get Ken and Porsche, that dynamic, out of my mind. I didn't want to write a mafia romance because I'm not comfortable writing that yet. I'm not there where I could write that. And I didn't want anything violent either. So, but I love the dynamic between them. I love this really stern. He's violent and he has to be ruthless, but deep down inside, he's just like this romantic who is like starved for love. And then you have Porsche, who's like going through this. He has a really hard life, but he's such an optimist and he's just a go-getter, and he's very nurturing. And so I just love to smush these two together. So when I saw that, when I was given the fake relationship, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And so I used that. They're my model for the characters in the book. But it's set in the New York fashion world because I didn't want to deal with the violent aspects. And you have Milo's character, Emilio is his name, but his nickname is Milo, and he needs a date for his parents' 30th anniversary bash. And he's been avoiding going back home to his parents. They're extremely wealthy and they own the fashion house that he will inherit. And he sees Alex on the runway and he says, that might be the solution to my problem. And so the story sets off there.
That's exciting. Any other tropes lurking around in there besides the fake dating? What else have you got on your trope menu?
There is the opposites attract. There is definitely there's an economic disparity because Milo's extremely wealthy and Alex is not. He's hustling, he's struggling, to take care of himself and his very small family, sister and his own. And so they're both Latin characters. So I wanted to bring in a little bit some of the difficulties that come along when you're disconnected from your extended family. So Alex is really dealing with that. He has to sort of struggle in the world alone. And the only thing he has is his wit and his very good looks. So he has to really work hard. And Milo's character identifies something in Alex that sort of brings out that softer part of him that he's not really allowed to show. So you have a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on there. Character and the cinnamon bun. I'm a sunshine only for you kind of thing. So
sunshine only for you. That could become a trope on its own.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Given that you said it in the fashion world, did you have a lot of research you had to do to kind of get all the fashion components kind of nailed down in the book?
I did. And I had already come off of writing my second book in the Harlequin series, which the main character, one of the romantic leads, is a photographer. He's a fashion photographer. He works for a fashion magazine. And so I've already had some experience with that. I myself, when I was putting myself through college, I worked as a makeup artist. And so I had some behind the scenes experience also with smaller fashion walks and other events where I had to participate in. So I had a little bit of that hands-on knowledge. I obviously had to upgrade it, right? Because it's been a good long time since I've done it myself. But I did have to do a little bit of research to sort of brush up on that.
I am excited to read this book, even more so now knowing that I'll read it looking for the obvious Kim Porsche like inspirations in there.
Yeah, there's definitely that's the fanfic writer in me. So it's like literally it would be considered a contemporary AU. So it's like the same characters, but it's a totally different setting. And so I preserve some of the elements of their characters. So looking for that, if someone knows it.
And I imagine it would be easy, air quotes, to do that because there was so much to draw from in those episodes because they threw everything and the kitchen sink in that series.
It was amazing. That series really did whatever it wanted to do. It was like, again, it reminds me of the soap operas that I grew up on. Those soap operas were so bonkers. Like they could go anywhere. People would die and come back to life. And if you know what I mean, you're like, this guy's gone and why is he showing up now? And so these incredible, just whoever was writing it just allowed themselves to go where they wanted to. And it's really, considering the source material, they did an incredible job with that series. So it's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much. It really took me back to those times when I would watch those soap operas with my grandmother, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I read the book. I had no idea what's happening. So it was so much fun, and I hope that I carried a little bit of that fun feeling through the story.
And double exposure. It was the book I didn't know I needed.
Thank you.
I raved about that back in episode 398, but tell us about it in your own words about this heist story.
Yeah, so I love heists. Like I love shows like Leverage, movies like Ocean's 8. Bound is a really good classic. It's more of a like small intimate heist compared to the other ones, but like a lot of the I've always been very into crime fiction, heist fiction, organized crime, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing: a lot of those stories, Bound is a great exception. Thanks, Wachowski sisters. Wonderful movie. But most of it doesn't have romance or any kind of successful romance. It's often about like the crew, or it's often like one person getting revenge and trying to outsmart the cops, or something similar. Like there's not a romance. So I wanted to take like when I was trying to figure out like, okay, tropes, second chance, enemies to lovers, when I was putting together what I wanted there, I was just like, I'm going to take a genre I love and give it some romance. So, which is how I ended up with Double Exposure, which is about Jillian and Sloane, who are both world-renowned art thieves and exes, and going after the same set of photographs, which I know you discussed in your review before. It was great. I appreciate it. I also like you, I don't want to touch on the plot too much because I had a lot of fun. Was my first like twist-based book, and I was really nervous about it going wrong. Because I was like, what if it's too obvious? What if it isn't clear at all? What if it is the worst thing, boring? But yeah, like they have a lot of differences too. Like Sera was talking about with her characters. Like Sloane came from an extremely rich family. Jillian grew up dirt poor. Sloane is non-binary and has to deal with that because they're kind of the con artist, like face type of thief. So they're blending in and out of society in different ways. Jillian, meanwhile, just breaks in. She doesn't have time to talk to people. She doesn't really want to be talking to people, except for Sloane, which is, of course, the inherent problem, because they had, at the start of the book, it is 3 years after their miserable breakup, in which they both left that situation of thinking the other was essentially the worst person in the world. And they've been getting revenge on each other ever since, which was also just a fun aspect, is coming up with all of the ridiculous things over the last 3 years they had done to each other and ruined each other's work. That was half the fun, I think. But yes, it is. So it's it's second chance, but also enemies to lovers, because they are in a competition, and it accelerates quickly, as I think Jeff found out.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, 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 oh. One of the things I liked about it so much, and I honestly can't remember in this moment if I touched on this or not, was that it's a romance. There's an HEA there, but I'm reading it going, how are they resolving this chasm that they've got between them? And it's just like, and it all came together. And I think you did a great job, I thought, of tying it all up. It all made sense. It's like, I get it, but I also couldn't solve it ahead of where they were, which I also appreciate. It must have made your plotter brain happy to have to get into this, because I find that romantic suspense and heist and mystery, you've got to really, I don't know how pantsers do it, because you have to seed stuff sometimes and make sure it all makes sense. And
yeah, it's a really big thing for me is I'm a very much of an outline person. So I have very dedicated chapter, like each chapter has its own outline, kind of outlines. And I did for Double Exposure. And even then, despite knowing that ahead of time, a lot of the seeds I went back in the editing process and just tweaked. Like I did so many last minute detail tweaks of like changing what was in one of the photographs to draw a hint to one thing, changing what information like Sloane gets at one point. Like a bunch of really little things came together in the end, because I wanted the suspense to be held as long as possible, but I also wanted, if somebody goes back and rereads the book, for all those little breadcrumbs to be there.
oh, so now you're telling me I have to go back and reread it to check out more of the breadcrumbs. I see how this works.
I want to make a joke, but it's spoilery to even imply it, because you already know the twist.
You can share that with me when we're done.
Yes.
So I know what to come back and listen for.
Will do.
What was your research like? Because I mean, you've got to understand some art and the photos and museums and security and all of these things to make it obviously know it well enough to tell the reader exactly what they need to know.
Yeah, so the first thing is one, they're stealing from the Art Institute of Chicago, which I have been to many times. My friend has like one of those yearly memberships, and she and I have been there quite often. So in terms of like setting a location, that was pretty easy because I knew it. They also have a very, very detailed website that like talks about their entire map layout and how many floors are here and where this and this. And I was like, and I actually on purpose changed a few details of the museum because I was like, please do not follow the interior of this museum and take something for the Art Institute. So there's actually a few things in there that I falsified on purpose because I was so familiar with the museum. But beyond that, like personal experience, a lot of research went into past thefts and heists, like really well-known ones. I worried that their capability sounded ridiculous, and then I looked into some actual heists, and there are things like the guy that decided 3 days after seeing jewelry that he would drop himself out of a helicopter with a parachute and land on top of the museum, and he did it and took the gem, and they didn't find it for 16 years.
Wow.
So people actually have done these things. So he literally just scoped it out and went, oh, I can swap that out. This doesn't weigh that much. He like literally, he was there with his wife. Like they were there with his wife and in-laws, and he looked at it and he went, I want that. And 72 hours later, he had taken it. Like this incredibly, like this jewel worth millions. So like, and that gave me confidence to be like, yeah, I can dramatize things, but I'm not even really stepping that far out of the bounds of reality.
It's what makes it so well to read, because it is grounded very nicely in the reality of our present day, which is something I like a lot. Little bit on the edge, like a James Bond tech twist or something is always good, but grounded as well. What have you been hearing from readers so far about offering books in this way through Patreon and through this kind of, it's almost like back in the day when you would have your book club selections that would come in the mail and you can have this, or this and get your books. And Rien, you've been out the longest with your book now for about 6 weeks or so as we're talking. What have you been hearing from readers in general, and maybe even those readers who have heard about this book going, how do I get that? And then having to go this direction for it.
Yeah, a lot of people jump to the format, I think, easier than I thought. At first, it might just be like, oh, you get books. Okay, well, where do I buy them? Well, you sign up for the Patreon, and then you pick the books. So that extra step, I think initially I was worried about maybe folks wouldn't be interested, but it seems like a lot of people jumped in on it very quickly, actually. I think they missed that kind of book boxing. I think a lot of subscription services now are very popular. People get, perfumes in the mail or food in the mail or something, and you get that thing. So it's just like, hey, do you want to get your books the same way? You don't have to scour through Amazon and be like, is this really the trope I'm looking for? Maybe it is, and read 70 blurbs before you decide on picking out a book. So I think just being like, here are the tropes, here are the pairings, 1 to 4 books, go straight ahead. Like that's like a great thing. I think the only small thing I've heard from readers a little bit in terms of like less positive feedback is they didn't know where to leave reviews because it's currently kind of in the walled garden of the Patreon. So of course they can leave comments and stuff like that, but that might be something interesting to figure out in the future for like how, with the exception of obviously podcasts like this where people can hear it outside, like how to get like reviews of the books kind of out into the world and bring more people collect it.
Yeah, because Goodreads is really fussy about that kind of book being on there if it's not widely available. I know many authors, myself included, people will put up like newsletter magnets on Goodreads and they'll get reviews, but then Goodreads will go, that's not a real book, and take it out.
Right.
And that's the same thing would happen with these as well, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, so that's maybe something to figure out in the future, but at least in terms of readers getting what they want, it seems to work very well.
Yeah.
And there is something, I think there is something really exciting and fresh also about sort of having that direct line between providing the product or the author and the book. And so there's so much in the hands of the reader. Yeah, they have these extra steps, and this is true, but they don't have to go through a publisher. They don't have to go through a lot of hoops to get to the product. Like, I want an Enemies to Lovers book, and here are my selections, and I can get them. And I love the idea of sort of taking that power, and it's because it is a collective, and taking that and saying, we're going to provide this product directly to the readers. There is something I really like about that.
And I like how it's set up with each book gets its... essentially it's post and write up and a little extra from the author. And then there's the monthly chats as well, where all the authors for that month get together and have a session to talk to the readers and talk about the books and everything, which I think is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool because you can kind of offer these bonuses like directly to your readers. I know all of us try to do like, reader magnets, or you do something on Facebook, or you do so. In this case, it's just 1-to-1. It's like, okay, you signed up for this, you get everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's really awesome. Now, we love to get book recommendations as much as we like to give them. So I'd love to know from each of you, what's a queer romance you've read recently that, our listeners should go pick up?
It's been a couple of months since I actually read a book all the way through. That's not to say I haven't read, but to actually have read a trade romance all the way through, because I've been in the middle of deadlines and just working. I feel like I've just been working nonstop. But I did recently, I always make a point to recommend. The last book that I read was Alexis Hall's A Lady for the Duke, which features a trans female lead, and it's such a gorgeous book, and it touches on areas that area of historical romance that we don't get to see a lot, which is a wonderful trans character, fully formed, with a beautiful back history, rooted firmly in the history of the time that he's writing in. And I enjoyed the book so much. And so I usually highly recommend that book. I also recommended, I've recently reread, because it was wonderful also, For the Love of April French by Penny Ames. I consider that one of my favorite books that I read last year. I love the vulnerability and the fullness of both characters, and the way that they made their way to each other. They're happily ever after. It was so raw, and it was just a beautifully written romance. I love it so much. And then the last one that I read also some months ago was This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Oh, that book's so good. Sorry, no, I don't mean to interrupt, but that book, I love that book so much. Sorry.
Every time I mention that book, people are either like, oh my God, how did you get through it? Or, oh my God, that book left a mark on my soul. And I'm definitely in the second category.
Same. Yeah.
And the thing with that book is the way that it's written, they didn't care about the world building. They left it to the reader to understand what it meant to function in a multiverse. Like they left that in the hands of the reader. They trusted the reader to understand that, and just went right for the relationship between the two characters, which develops in the most, it's hard to even describe. They're traveling through space and time, up and down time threads, to find clues of each other. And they're falling more deeply and deeply in love with each other. Just a stupendous book. I always tell people you have to read it twice. Read it the first time
100%.
And read it again to actually get it. And then when you've done that, go back and read it again.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it's like, that's one of the wonderful things about it, is that it's so short. Yeah. So you can get through it and be like, wow, okay. Yeah. And then it's just like, you could just turn around and read it again. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you.
No, nothing. And it's one of those things that the more you go back into it, you just find more, and it's been a long time since I've read a book like that. There was one book that I read was, and it'll come to me in a moment. She's a Korean American writer, and she wrote something similar to this. It's gorgeous also. And it gives you that feeling of just being, it mashes up different genres. In her case, it does the same thing. It just draws you into this world that you cannot be real, but it is, and you're fully invested in it. And it is queer. It's gorgeous. They both feature, the book that I'm referring to has a trans lead also, and just beautiful book. And I recommend it to people.
I'm going to have to find this book, because you both had such an enthusiastic reaction to it, and I have not heard of it.
Yeah, and that's what makes me sad, is that like it's by two fairly well-known authors, and for some reason, despite it being trade published and getting like rave reviews, I was like, okay, so where are the copycats of this book? I need like 40 more of this book. And it just like rose, got a bunch of awards, and then just dropped off the face of the earth. It makes me, it's very good. But yeah, Sarah's right. Like the reaction is always, I couldn't get through chapter 1, or yes, this altered me on a molecular level.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope for the latter in my case.
Yeah.
So I will let you both know after I've checked that out.
I would love to know. I'd love it, because I'm always looking for people who will read it and say, okay, sit down and talk to me about it, because I want someone to speak to.
Yeah.
Because it grips you, and it doesn't let you go very easily. I'm still thinking about it. So.
Yeah, the prose is gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
It is the kind of thing that, like, I feel like when I was 14 reading craft books, that would be like, don't have purple prose. You know what? This is what gets so good about the book. It breaks like almost every trad pub rule. It's it's short. It's a novella. 2, it's queer women. There's not enough of those in trad pub. 3, it's epistolary. It's letters back and forth.
Epistolary.
They did all of those things that you're not supposed to do with a trad pub book, and put it all in one book, and it's fantastic.
And it's and the writing, I'm glad that you refer back to the writing, because the writing is so lush. It's almost Shakespearean. And you would never tolerate that kind of writing in another book. Yeah. And yet that book, it almost demands it. It's almost like it needs to be there, because it's almost like it's epic. It's epic in scope. These two people who managed to find each other across space and time and universes, and I mean, you really have to put your hands on it to understand the scope of what they're describing. And I'm one of those people that when I'm done reading a book, I go look for the fan art for it. And the fan art is gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Rien, what's on your recommendation list these days?
I'm gonna unsurprisingly recommend a bodyguard romance. Is The Gunrunner and Her Hound by Maria Ying. It's FFF. It's Polly. It's set in, I believe most of it is set in Singapore, although they travel quite a bit. And it is about an arms dealer. It's like 10 seconds into the future. Kind of like the status of a lot of countries have changed and everything like that. But it's about an arms dealer and who with her old term bodyguard who hires someone new. And I'm gonna leave it there and everything goes, but it's very good. I love the prose. I love the voices in it. It deals with a lot of really complicated dynamics really well. And it's the start of a series. That one's just, well, there's a couple of them are butch, but mostly cis women. But the sequel also has a trans woman lead, who's the sister of the original protagonist. So that's good. But yeah, it's bodyguard romance. It has just, again, like finding poly queer and bodyguard romance. It's like, okay, I need 40. Thanks. But besides that, I feel like I haven't been reading as much romance. I just read through Nona the Ninth because I love lesbian drama and necromancers. So I've been rereading those books. I've also been reading a lot of nonfiction just for research. But yeah, Gunrunner's very good. Maria Ying in general, so great author. I've also, like Sera, kind of like been in my deadline pit, focusing on that. And I try not to read stuff that's like super similar when I'm working on a book itself. And since I'm working on my queer romantic suspense, I'm kind of like not looking for romantic suspense, despite the fact that I would usually be eating it up.
That's the same thing with me. I've been staying away a little bit from contemporary romance, even though I tend to read a lot of it, precisely because I'm writing. Right now, I'm writing a lot of contemporary romance at the moment. It's Light from Uncommon Stars from Rika Aoki.
Oh my gosh, that book was amazing.
Okay, so you know which book I'm talking about. I love that book so much. And it's another one that I occasionally go back to it and reread it. It's bonkers in the sense that it mashes up also various genres altogether. And I love that. I love and it's so centered on the main character. And so much of it is, she is the center of the book. And then everything happens around her. It's a wonderful book.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful book. I was so excited to see it piled up in a beautiful new stack of paperbacks at Barnes & Noble yesterday. It must have just come out on paperbacks. It's like, here's all this. You need this book. Because it was... It's I don't read fantasy type books a lot because world building bogs me down sometimes. It's like, just dole it out to me as I need it, please. And everything about that book was just beautiful. The slight fantasy elements, the space donuts.
The space donut.
Somebody, I heard them refer to that way.
Like the donut is its own character.
It really is, right?
Seems to be a trend this year. That was true in Everything Everywhere All at Once too.
Okay, and that's another book that I need to read. I think they made a movie out of it.
Yeah,
I'm terrible. I don't watch a lot of movies.
I'm very, very picky on films, and that is one of the best movies I have seen in years.
Then I have to.
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. I watched it once and enjoyed it, and then watched it with my mother, which was a mistake. Not because she didn't like it, but because it is very much about a relationship between a mother and their kid. Okay. And that time I sobbed my eyes out. I survived the first time. I did not survive the second.
Because you had mom with you.
Yeah, it's like, nope. Oh, I lost it.
So we heard a little bit from each of you about what's coming next, but let's really dive into that so people can have a kind of a list of what's coming next. Rayan, I'll start that off with you. What is next that we should be looking for?
So right now, the book I'm on deadline for is A Love So Dark, which is the fourth and final book in my Fatal Fidelity, my non-binary, my romantic suspense assassin series. So looking on that, it's going to be fun. I have been thinking about this book for years. It has been such a joy to actually work on it and write it and finally come to the conclusion, because these books follow the same couple. So it's the same two people over 4 books. It's not different to the other series. So they've been on a very long journey. And again, like this is the series, like my very first published book was Love Kills Twice, which is the first in the series. So like getting to the end, it's going to be my first finished series. It's very big and looming in my mind, but I'm also excited about it. And once that's out of the way, my next one is actually going to be a fantasy romance, like Arthurian kind of story, but FF, a lot of it. Knights, queens, a lot of the, like, it's elements that I've loved, again, in a lot of stories, but never pursued myself. That one's called Out of True, and so that'll be what I'm working on next. And then at some point after that, because I have 17,000 things on my to-do list always, I'll get back to the bodyguard romance that I sent over to Karina, because that has 30K but needs about 80 more. So
just 80,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
Just 80. Do it on the weekend.
It's outlined at least.
And how can people keep up with you online to know when all this stuff's going to be coming out?
Yeah, I'm unfortunately on Twitter all the time. So you can find me at Rien Gray Twitter. Same thing if you want to follow my newsletter. If you just want to hear about my releases and not see the bad jokes I post about my books, you can go to tinyletter.com/RianGray. Or if you want to get a hold of me directly on email, it's riangrayiswriting@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And Sera, for you, what's coming up next?
Well, I just finished up edits for my third book of the Navarro family series with Harlequin Special Edition. It's funny because with some of the issues there's some issues with everything in that has to do with the production of books because of different things that have happened since COVID. And so I'm actually had the third book finished before the second book, and so I'm back and I'm doing the final edits on the second book. The Best Man's Problem comes out in March of 2023, and The Trouble with Exes comes out in May of 2023. I also have the HEA novella that's coming out in October. I'm really excited about that. And then I'm also working on a joint project with R.L. Merrill, who also writes lovely queer romances. And we have a writing project that we're currently pitching. And so we'll see where that goes. So that's kind of what I have on the top right now.
And where can people find you online?
I'm also a Twitter person, although I have been kind of keeping my head down because I've had so much writing to do. But I'm on Sera. I'm Sera Taíno everywhere. On Sera on Instagram, on Twitter. Twitter is the best place to reach me. SeraTaíno@gmail.com if you want to write to me. I also have a newsletter on my website. It's SeraTaíno.com/mailing-list. You can go on there. That you get a free book. There's scenes from A Delicious Dilemma. It's scenes. There's a collection that you can get, and there's also tons of free reads on my website. So,
yeah, I'm about to drop my Halloween read for my newsletter. It's always fun to give out free stuff. It's actually something that another writer, Katie Casey, she came up with last Halloween, which was take your contemporary romance characters and put them in a paranormal AU for a free Halloween short.
That's so cool.
So I have, Justine and Campbell are my main in my romantic suspense series. So I'm doing, last year I did Campbell as the supernatural one. This year I'm doing Justine as the supernatural one.
That's so cool. I like that
it's really fun to do themed stuff and then just fling it at people. It's free, read it.
And if people are fans of the series and they want to see those characters again, then they'll
exactly.
they'll enjoy that. It's excellent.
I love that. I may have to steal that idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Katie's brilliant. When I saw that, I was like, that's fantastic. That's so fun.
Well, Rien and Sera, it has been so wonderful talking to you both. Thank you for sharing your books that are in the HEA Collective, and very much look forward to reading more from both of you as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.